Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? I hope very good. So, for today, we're going to draw a house. And we have drawn houses before in the field, very simple, kind of like rectangular. But this will be a little more, um, you will see the actual style the house has, but it will be only the front view. We're not going to be dealing much with perspective. So, don't, you know, we're going to take it step by step. Eventually, I would like to do um, a house or buildings or street in the perspective, um, one line perspective or two line perspective. We'll learn about all that, but we're going to take it step by step. So this house will be from the front view, but a little more detail in you will recognize the style of the house, what we will have, windows and things like that. Okay, so we'll need pencils, paper, um, and yeah, I'm excited because, like I said, we'll cover some skills in this drawing. I'll mention what those are, and everything builds up. Okay, I hope you continue to be with me and develop as you go and see how things add in your skills to do more drawings and develop them. So we need pencils. I have a few, as you can see in this shot. The paper, I put it on a vertical way, which is when it's like um, standing like this, not horizontal. So that's why the camera shot is wider. You can see more of my table, but we're gonna draw the house this way, okay? Pencils, pencil sharpener, and my pencils already have a good eraser. So just want to mention that, okay? All right. Um, Ideally for this, obviously, a ruler will be good. Um, we're gonna play slowly without a ruler and develop our lines as we draw. That's part of the lesson. And so if you have a ruler, sure you can use it, but I won't be using it, so I won't be touching how or when to use it. We're gonna draw lines freehand. Okay, so let's get started. Um, this is a house, as you can probably predict by the paper, that will have multiple floors, about two in an attic, something like that. And yeah, excited. Apologize for the focusing of the camera. Um, it won't happen for too long. If it happens, it's momentarily. It's important for the camera as I move my hands to focus. Okay. Um, all right. There's something else I wanted to say. Um, oh yeah, I have a little maybe something we could do at the end for the house. But let's get started. So the paper is that's what I want. The paper is either 8.5, right, like this, by 11, or 9, right, by 12. So what I'm gonna start doing right away is set up the base where the house is gonna come from. I mean, stand on. Okay. So maybe about, let's see, 2 inches. 2 inches. I'm doing this by vision. We could verify later, but 2 inches of the paper. And in this drawing, we'll erase, right, what we don't want. So this is a line here where the house is going to come from. I mean, will be standing on. Maybe I should have even gone a little higher. So 2 inches could be about here. A good way to refer if you're doing a straight line is to look at your sides, you know, to look at your side here. So your line can be perpendicular, meaning they create a 90-degree angle. So um, when you have a line like this, sorry, and a line comes like this, that's perpendicular, and it creates 90-degree angles on either side. So this side, when it hits this line, right, to make it perpendicular perfectly, you look at the, rather than just drawing the line blindly, you look at how it meets this side. So I raised it a little. And you know the thing, we don't gonna worry when we raise things. This house will be shaded. If in the future you want to draw it again a second time to color it with colored pencils, that's great. But it will be shaded with pencil in tones. So when you erase, you see how you can see still the line I erased. I'm not worried about that because when I shade it, that will be hidden. It will go away. Okay. So this is the base my house will be standing on. Great. So let's do let's see how we do this, because I know I want a square, and I'll be raising the camera a little bit. I want to really make sure that you see all edges of the pencil, of the paper, sorry. All right. So the house here will come up in here. I'm trying to make the same distance from here to here. It's about 1.5 inches. My lines are not going to be perfectly straight. Okay, we're going to make them straight as we go. So if your lines are not looking straight, don't worry. We'll build on our drawing, just like a house is built. We're going to build. This is one of the actual skills we'll develop in this drawing, just like in many others, to build on your drawing rather than focus on one little area and finish it. We wouldn't want to do that in drawings. We want to build as we go along the entire thing. Okay, so I'm going to go up now that I have my 1.5 inches. And again, I'm going to look at my side to keep that same distance. If you want, before you keep going, make a mark maybe about here to that also 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches, maybe about here. That way, when you draw your line, they meet. They will meet. They will meet. Sorry. If you see something is not going too well with your lines, like it's very not straight, like this one. Sorry, this one. I can see it's leaning towards the edge. Then I fix it. Just fix it. You know. Okay. So okay. We're learning as we go. Okay. So I'm gonna have to bring these lines a little more in. You see, I'm already realizing this. Yep, just a tiny little bit. And I'll explain you why in a moment. And make sure that they still straight. Okay. I still don't care much if this line's shown because I'll tell you ahead of time what's going to happen. On the side of the house, we'll have bushes and trees, so this will be covered. Don't worry about seeing the line you just erased, okay? So I brought the line in a little more to make my house more narrower, more rectangular. But I want to show you something here. We're going to do a triangle. It's not a equilateral, meaning all sides are not the same. The base will be longer. And let's leave some space. I'm in this area up here now. Let's leave some space from the edge of the draw of the paper, right? So let's leave like about maybe an inch. So maybe about here. That way the house doesn't touch the edge. You don't want your drawing to the main subject of your drawing. You may not want to come out of the page or the paper unless on purpose you are doing that and the drawing itself carries that. Okay, in this case we don't want it to go to the edge. Exceptions to that will be like when we take a picture, you know, with a photograph. Many times our subject gets cut off by the photo and it still works. So if you're going to do that, you have to do it. It's a different effect, right? It's more normalized. But in here, no. In here, our house is center. And I can see how this line, you see, kind of go to the side, to my right. So I got to like fix it. Okay. We'll fix these lines as we go, okay? It's still weird looking. Okay. So this is the point of my triangle. The house is going to have a roof that is a triangle. The base will be wider than the sides, right? So let's put the base about, let's see. Let's put the base about here. And if I need to move this, I'll move it, you know. You could use your pencil, sorry, there you go, to measure the distance from the edge here and here to be the same. So I don't need this extra part. And the triangle is going to come out. It's going to come out on the sides, okay? Meaning wash, meaning it will stick out. So now I go to this point, maybe a little higher. And then as you draw these lines, I'm going to switch pencils. So all my pencils are sharpened already. So if you have only one pencil, you will have to sharpen it, right? But if you have multiples, have them all sharp ahead of time. Great. So this little, I don't know, half an inch and half an inch here, keep it the same distance, right? And I'm gonna go now to this point here, which actually, by the way, I unconsciously did this, but I forgot to mention, try to put this right at the center, at the middle, sorry, of the page. Now, do not fold your entire paper. Do not do this to find the middle of the paper. Don't do that. Maybe you could get away with just, look, taking these two corners, putting them together, and just a little pinch here. Just a little pinch. But do not fold the paper where you can see the fold, and then you're damaging the surface you're drawing on, unless the fold is part of your, collage or artwork. But you see how I made that little mark here, barely, but the paper is still not damaged by being folded. Because any paper folded, it's something you cannot get back to be the way it was. Okay, even if you try to straighten it, a fold in a paper will be very hard to eliminate once you do it. Have you heard the expression, right? Just like in relationships, our relationships with people, the things we say, we have to watch out, be empathetic. Things we say that, that hurt. It's like if you crump a paper up, you could try to fix it and flatten the paper, but it's never going to really go back to how it was. So, okay, so I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm going to now connect this point. So from here to here. Oh. And from the other side to the other side. Let's see. See? There's the roof of your house. As simple as this looks, you'll see how we're going to develop this house into a more detailed house. Okay, so obviously something I want to point out, I hope everybody, I'll give you a few seconds to get here, right? Base, we're going to use this area here, the house and the roof. Something I want to point out is this is a 2-hour video. We're only not even like on a fifth of the video, but we're going to be developing this house until we finish. Okay, all right, so let's see. This here inside, let's focus here inside for a moment. We know it's not a square. We're going to come out, we're going to make a square in here in a moment, but you all know the definition of a square. So this is kind of like a rectangle, not too long, right? But it's still a rectangle because all sides are not the same. So we can tell that these sides here on the left and the right are longer than these guys on the top and the bottom, right? Can we all agree that these sides are longer? So that's what makes it a rectangle. A square will have all of these sides the same measurement. And we're going to make a square. So the way we're going to make a square will be using the shorter sides, right? So the square will either be up here or down here. We're going to do it up here. And you see my fingers already marking the limits of the square because I'm putting here the measurement close to what this right here is. See what this is? I'm going to put it to the side. And if I were to draw a line here, I'll get a square up here. So to make a square, Obviously, a ruler will do it perfectly, but we're going to use our pencil. I want you to use your eyes too. But in this case, you could use your pencil to try to get it as close as you can to measure. And the way you use a pencil to measure is you put the tip of your pencil at the end of what you want, which is here. And with your fingers, right, you pinch here on the pencil where the line ends, like right about here. Right, that's the distance up here. And at the bottom should be the same, right? Because all these are straight lines. So now I'm going to move my pencil. I'm going to keep my eye very clear. When I see these fingers down here, I'm going to look in the paper to that spot. So watch. I'm going to move my pencil here. Tack, right? But I'm keeping an eye. You see how now the tip is here? I'm keeping my eye down here to know exactly where in the paper I made that mark and then lift. And I know it's maybe about here. Okay. And then I'll have my square. Maybe a little up. Let's see. And I got it wrong. Yep, it's a tiny little bit up. I was correct the first time. I'm gonna do it again on the other side just for I could just draw the line, but I want to do it to kind of be as much. You could do this as many times as you want to wash. For the other side, I could do it for the middle. Is this making sense? Yep, it's about maybe down here. And if it doesn't look right, you could you could move the line up or down until you get in here. In here, what you see will be a square. I could take a ruler now and measure this to see if they're correct. But now this side, this side, this side, and this side should have the same distance. That way, what's in here is a square. And that's what we wanted. So now our house has like a, we will have 2 floors here, an attic, 2 floors. And then what's down here is, you see these in houses, they're raised, right? And down here, there's a space. And sometimes people keep things down there, but it's not. It could be a basement, part of the basement, but it could also be that it's just raised. Okay, so as you can see, our house is my drawing is a little dirty with lines, but all those are going to be gone when we add things like bushes, trees on the side, shade, right? Because if I start shading, then these lines will disappear. Great. I'll give you a few seconds to catch up in this part. It's very important you stay with me because this drawing develops, okay? It builds. This drawing in pencil, we're going to do it all in pencil, but something that designers and architects do is they start with pencil very lightly, and then they have draftmanship pens or any pen, but design pens, and I'll show you what those looks like in the next video. I don't know if I have them handy. But yeah, then they go over the pencil with a ruler, and that makes the drawing more clean, extra clean. And then obviously the black of the pen stands out against the white of the paper. But in this case, we need the shading, so we need the pencil. Okay. All right, so we have our square. Now let's divide our square in two parts, two equal parts. Okay, so now find the middle of the square from top to bottom, maybe about here. I don't know. Um, we'll see. That line, as you can see, is not straight. I'm going to make it straight. Okay, I'm going to make it straight. Even more down. If you need to do this and turn your paper, you can do that. Okay. Now I want you to go out of the side as long as you went out up here. Okay. Let's do maybe half an inch, maybe about here. I'm turning my paper, by the way, to make my line more straight visually. I need to see, because remember how I told you I use the side here to make my line perpendicular. Okay. So an inch, sorry, half an inch. And hopefully this will look okay. This line here should reach just the edge, should touch the line. It is kind of okay, you know. Maybe it should be raised up here, but it's okay. But the one down here that split the square in half, it came out that. Sorry, this is an inch. This may be an inch, but this here is a quarter inch. Sorry, half an inch. Half an inch, half an inch distance, right? And from here to here, maybe an inch. Now, are you with me? And the camera keeps focusing back and forward. Sorry, but when I take my hands out, it will focus. I'm keeping an eye that stay more focused than non-focus. But when I bring my hands in the camera, be aware that it will try to focus. That's what's happening, and it's necessary. So, okay. So we are in this point. I could also make the drawing. You let me know how it looks. Oops, more visible with the light. You know, if more light will bring it more visible or less. If you guys want to look at like this, or you guys want to look at like that. So I will hear your comment. For now, I think this will be okay to see the lines. Perfect. So now I'm going to connect this to this. On both sides. You see? And I'm going to erase the inside line here. What I did, again, I connected this point to this point, this point to this point, and I erase in here the line, because now this is on top of the edge of the house. You know, it's like a little extra roof. Okay. Later, we're gonna make these lines a little more defined. Right now, they may be thicker, right? So we'll define windows, doors, okay, as we go, and we'll do as much as we can in this drawing and be finished. And what I'm thinking of, this may be a drawing that will be finished, yes, but could be even developed even more. So maybe in another video we could even add more to it. So don't lose it and hold on to it. Know where your drawing is. Okay. So windows. Here. I know I want a window here and two windows here. But let's do the door because the door will define. I don't want the door right in the middle, So let's do the door maybe about here on the left side. So if this is the center, right? The door will be in the middle here of the left side. Towards the center a little more, okay? And it is a rectangle. So it's on the left side, but rather than the middle, I just said a little more towards the center. So I'm gonna push it here, up. In a house, sorry, a door obviously is very rectangular. You see that? We have our door. Awesome. We're doing bigger shapes and then later adding the details, okay? So that's one door. Are you with me? I'm gonna wait for you to be with me. Okay. I switch pencils here and there to get a clean straight line. And the pencils that are not sharpened or already used, I put to the side and I'll sharpen them later. I have an electronic sharpener. But let's do our windows. Sorry. So first of all, I want to do a window here, kind of big because this side is very wide and open. So it's going to line up with the door up here. I'm not touching up here. You see, I'm keeping a distance. We'll have something going on there. Keeping enough distance from the edge of the house. Okay, maybe about here. And then closer up about here. This is a big window because there's a big space here in the porch, right? Now I want to do a window up here, kind of similar, but not as big. So not as big as this. This is big, right? It's the first floor, but up here, I'm gonna do something. Let's see how I do this. Maybe this didn't have to come this close over here, so I'm gonna bring it down. Okay, that's good. And then up here, I will then, yes, line up this now. I'm keeping my space, just a little space. Let's not touch both lines, don't touch these lines. I'm keeping my distance, but I line this up with this. And here, I'm not gonna line this up here. I'm gonna bring it up a little inside. Let's keep this line straight. Hopefully it is a more straight line. I think this is good. Okay. It's not, you see, these lines are not all straight, but we can fix this later. But there's a window up here, and now there's going to be a window kind of right above the door, but a little more to the left. Smaller. It's not lining up exactly with the door. You see how it's a little more to the left. Okay. And I want to add a little tiny window like about here, small. It's going to be higher than this one, obviously, but kind of like here. So same distance here, but the bottom a little higher. So maybe about like something like this. Okay. We have our windows. Oh, we're missing one up here. Okay. There's so many different ways we could do a windows. So up here will be right through the middle. Let's do a rectangle, and then we'll decide what to do with it. But leaves enough space. You see how I'm leaving enough space? And I'm doing my rectangle lightly and then building upon it if I'm not sure. Now I'm sure to make my lines darker. Did that, you see, make sense? Okay. These lines are not, perfectly straight. Some of them, when you really look at them, but don't worry, we'll build upon this. And this one, I just wanted this basic. But now we have all the windows. The house is raised on this. Okay. Let's do a stair to get to the door. The porch. Maybe define some of the sides with thicker lines. So the lines that we know for sure are going to stay there. So now this happens when you draw in general, right? You kind of sketch before or make lines, but then once you are sure, okay, this is the line I really want, then you could go over the line and define it, make it straighter, make it straight, right? Just like, for example, you see this line here, how it's kind of blurry and thick. So I know in this area how my line should be now by looking at this one. So now I'm going to make a line with a sharpened pencil. And the line that I'm going to make is the line I want. So watch. It's a more defined, darker line that kind of eliminates the others. The kind of line you created already there that was kind of sketch. Okay, same thing is happening here. It's thick, darkened, but I can now go over it with what I decided I want. You see? Same thing here. Same will happen with these lines eventually, and erase what you don't want. So if you use your eraser, Not exactly what I'm erasing. Your drawing has the areas you need to erase. So take your eraser and clean up your drawing a little. If you run your hand over your drawing, you see, which it starts to get dirtier, then clean up and erase the areas that you need to make your drawing a little cleaner. Look at how dirty mine is, and it will get more dirty. I just have to make sure that I keep them um, with the cleaning. And that dirtiness at first, not dirtiness, but the it's not dirty. It's that is you we ran our hand over the pencil graphite and smudge it. So we're gonna shade it. So at first we don't get too picky on that because it's gonna be shaded, so you don't have to erase too much. But if it helps you see the drawing, helps you see what you have done or what you need to do, then clean it. Yes. Okay. So windows, doors. Now we're gonna do a stairs to get to the door. The way we're gonna do this is we're gonna draw a line in an angle. Okay. Let me. There's something don't go over this line down here, the base too dark. Okay, because the house will have a base, but let's not darken this line yet. I'll explain you why as we develop it in a moment. It will have to do with the stairs. So for the stairs from here, actually a little lower than this line, we're gonna draw in an angle, maybe about here, from this corner of the door. You see how the bottom has a point where the corner meets this corner and this corner. So from this corner down, beyond this line a little, so maybe about here, not too long, maybe about here, we'll draw a line, but in an angle rather than straight. This will be straight, in an angle, going out. So instead of straight, I'm going to push it out. So watch, kind of like that. Okay, let's do it again. Down in an angle up to here. Now here, the stairs are on the porch. So the porch is all this space, you'll see. So it doesn't really have to line up. In here, it line up with the door. In here, it doesn't have to line up exactly with the door. So maybe about here, not in the corner, but maybe about here. I'm going to go down also in an angle. Let's see. I'm going to bring this actually out a little more, not by the door, but just a little bit out. Maybe about, not in the corner, but maybe about here. Sorry about that. And let's erase what's inside, because now the stairs are in front of everything here that's in okay. And now we decide, this is a little more angle than this one. You can see how this line is more angle. Doesn't have to be that angle. So I like this angle here. So maybe if I tone it down to maybe about that, I think that, yeah, that's better. Okay. Now we think of how many steps proportional to this we need. Okay, how many steps will we need proportionally? So if I say 2 steps, those 2 steps will be huge. And that's what I mean by proportion. If you were going through this door, right? I'm going to do the doorknob right halfway through about here. If you were going to go through this door, how many steps would you need maybe? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 or 6. I'm going to do 6. So, okay. 6, right? This is to show you, rather than starting, at some point and try to make fit 6. 6 divided by 2 in half is 3. 3 and 3. So half of this distance may be about here. So now I know I need to do 3 steps above this and 3 steps under this. Did that make sense? So again, I decided to do 6, but rather than starting with a certain size and then try to make them fit 6 and come out of this, I'm going to find the middle of this distance, which is about here. And I know that I need to do 3 steps up here and 3 steps down here, and that will make 6. So 1, 2, 3. This is 1 step. 1, 2, 3 steps. And here I have 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm doing the base of the bottom. Okay. Now the way we're going to do the steps, watch how it's going to become stairs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Now watch. You see how it's coming in an angle here? Now we're going to make a straight line from the top to the base. So this one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here. You could barely see it, but it's there. This one goes here, this one goes here, this one goes here. And now it looks more like a stair. So you can see what I did. It looks like this. You see this? Let's see if bringing it closer will work. Yep. You see how now it looks like steps? I erased the line that was uniting this, and I went at the top of the step, which is touching the line that was there, down straight. Now this second step should be more to the side to touch that imaginary line that I erased and go straight down. This one, this, you see? So I'm going to do it here and then later erase the line, okay? Let's see if I can do this. From the top, straight down. See? From the top of this one, straight down. You see how it's more out, the second one, the third, the fourth. But I have to erase this line, though, the line that goes straight down. So I'm going to erase the line, and finish what I was just doing. So straight down, straight down, straight down, straight down, straight down, and straight down. And now we have our stairs that kind of lead to the door. You know, they're not perfectly aligned with the door, but all right. There you go. Now, is everybody with me? I'll give you a few seconds to stay here with me. Bring this closer. Okay. Now, there's something I want to do. I want to, in the house, sorry, in the bottom of the house, right? Switch pencils or sharpen it as you use your pencil, because then, you know. But the bottom of the house, the actual house, not the sides, the actual house. Emphasize this bottom here. So this line, right? And this line. If of the house. So I'm going to stop right about here because I just said the house. And let's erase this line that kept on going outside the house. I'll explain you why. So now the line defining the bottom of the house, right, is defined, but not doesn't have to continue. We're gonna raise that line a little. Right? Sorry, not the house, the one that was out here. We're gonna lift it up maybe a quarter of an inch or half an inch. Let's say half an inch. So maybe about here, and then draw it. But if I do half an inch here, I have to do half an inch on the other side. Excuse me. About right there. And now the house is grounded on the floor, yes, but the ground, you know, is like in the ground, and the ground, you can see it that it goes farther than the house. So, you know, you get what I'm saying? So this line basically, okay. Now we're gonna do a sidewalk. As if from the sidewalk, you go to your as if from the sidewalk you get into the house. You know. Ready? So let's see. We're gonna do a little line. Remember the angle for the stairs? Let's bring it down to these steps a little here. Just a little. And here too, just a little, not too much. And then make a straight line going out like this here. Okay, now I'm gonna do a straight line, lighter, a straighter line, lighter. Maybe about here. It's gonna go all along, lighter and thicker. Look, lighter and thicker. And what that represents is kind of like the side edge that goes up on a sidewalk. We'll define this later. So this is the sidewalk. This is the sidewalk. And if you're walking here, you could turn, right, and go into the steps to get into the house. Does that make sense? So this gray is darker, but not as dark as the other lines, and it's thicker because it's that thickness of the side of the sidewalk that leads to the street. and someone walks here in this space and can turn and go into the house or keep going. But it's very important that doesn't go straight from the stairs. There's a little space here that we did in lines. Okay, this space. So there's a distance when you turn that then you reach the stairs. So a few seconds to catch up with me. Look at where the windows are. We have 5 windows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The door, the stairs, kind of like the shape of the house. We can see that this whole area is a square, right? And the bottom here is raised. We're gonna do something to this bottom here, you'll see, to make it a little more grounded. Okay. Let's see. Ready? Okay, new pencil for me because the other one. And let's do let's do some thicker lines. Thicker lines, you see what I mean, in some areas, just to highlight in the construction. So for example, maybe not this bottom line. I'm gonna make it more defined and straight. But these two on each side could have a space in between. So watch me. There's a line here, and I'm going to do a line very close to it. And I'm sure when they build this house, right, there's a material that creates that distance or thickness. You can turn your paper to get it more correctly. There you go. That's what I mean by making, it's not really thicker lines, it's just a thicker material. Let's do that. Let's see. Let's do that on the frame in here, but not the bottom. So not this bottom in the roof and not this bottom here. So look, space, space, and space up here. So this is why it was very important when you did your windows to leave enough space so this fits in and there's still even more room. So you see between this there's even space to make this line and still have more space. So okay, now the house 4 corners will have a thick kind of like leg or column. So let's make that right here, maybe about this thick. Here too. So what's happening here will happen over here. Okay. All right. Now, there's something we're going to do down here later. I don't want to do it right now because it will create too much graphite and it will smush all over. But they put a frame down here, usually made out of either straight lines or kind of like in an angle. You'll see what I'm talking about down here in this space where the house is raised. But let's focus now. We're going to get to the windows in a moment and the shape of the things that are going to go around the house. But let's focus on the porch for a moment. Okay. And so the porch will have these columns holding kind of like a frame. Okay. So, and actually that kind of keeps going up to the rails of the stairs. You'll see. So let's start here. So basically, let's draw the line of where the kind of like the fence, not fence, but the porch will go. I don't want to do it exactly touching this window, although we could. Yeah, let's do it. So it's gonna go. It's almost like this line continues in the window, so up to here. Don't get to the door, just up to here. And over here goes up to the edge. It's like the fence is in front of the window and it happens to match where the window ended down here. So now I need to put a straight line going up, not right next, not over the door, maybe about here, going up and meeting right here. Okay. Same thing on this side, not right at the door, right? But it goes up a line here and it lines up with this and continues to the edge right here. Are you with me here? You'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see what's going to happen. Okay. You see what we just did? We're going to open this up, don't worry. But now I'm going to make a thicker, very thicker light thicker. I'll tell you why light here. And this actually holds up this rail. You see this column? And there's one on the other side. We need one here at the edge. I'm making it thick for a reason, you'll see, and thicker here. And there's going to be another one. I'll tell you why. So we have one here. I could erase this line if I want, this little line. So there's a column here. This is different from up here. This is kind of like a frame. What's happening here is a frame. And we're going to do frames on the windows too. We should do that. So just like we did here, a frame. Not completed because we didn't do the bottom of the roof or the bottom here. This is a column. You see, like a column. And there's one on the other side. And there's one here. And there's one here. Now there's going to be another column to hold this together. Not matching exactly this window going over, but right next to it. Look. It's going to probably have to go over because I don't want it too close to this one. There's got to be a distance here. So let's do the line here going down. It's okay. But you get what I'm trying to do. The column is here and it happens to match the window. That's all. The window is like right at so right there. See how I did the column? So now we're going to do similar thickness, not entirely always the same thickness, but you see how, follow me here, please. Let me bring the camera closer just for this moment. Is it focusing? give it a minute, a second. It will get focused. Do not worry. We got this, and we're gonna make it work right there. It's focused. So let's go over it again. I made a column here. I made a column here. I made a column here, and two little ones here at the edge and here at the edge. So now I'm gonna make like a thinner than this above and above up here, and maybe not close to the edge, but a little higher, right? Because we need a space. So I'm going to turn my paper. I'm going to have to bring the camera back entirely to where it was, which was about here. And I apologize. But you see the spots that I'm talking about. If it's too bright, I wish in the comments for the next video, do let me know. Write a comment. And Antonio was too bright, and I can, you see, darken it so you can maybe see the lines better. Okay. So I'm going to turn my paper just to do a thinner line here above and here, and then down here that thin line will be raised, not touching the bottom but raised a little. Watch. So it goes here thinner, and then down here I have to raise it. So let me go over this line that this is just to emphasize the line that's here, but look what I mean. I mean it needs to be above it. So it's above, and here's the other side. It continues here, and it continues here and here. You follow on that? See them? Now look how it's going to start making a little more sense when, at least in these two corners, in these 2 points, I do a little ball. You know? Or we could even raise that ball. Hold on. You know what I mean? Kind of like doing a rectangle here and putting the ball above it. You know what I mean? Then up here, we could do a ball, I don't know, maybe about here. And then from this, you see how this goes like this, where you will, the fence top, where you put your hands, or right? So from this point up to the ball, it goes curvy, like curves, and then goes narrow. Kind of like a bowling pin. It's just a decoration. So what I'm doing, you can barely see it, but it's there. Making like a bowling pin that ends up touching the ball. So this is what I'm doing. I did a ball. Sorry, I did a ball. And then I'm doing something like that curves and touches the ball. A decoration. And this is the top, right? And then this is the bottom. It's just something added. We could do just this thin line. I'm gonna give you a few moment to catch up. This thin line here can go up here, okay? Also, all along, even if it goes over the edge of the door and the windows. So this one will continue all along. Look, there you go. Now we're gonna erase because okay, it's in an angle, but there's a rail for the stairs that goes from here down. Okay, so it's gonna basically go up into this last steps at the bottom, up to here maybe. So let's erase this second step corner, raise this up. Same thing here. Whatever it is, all of this will get erased. Don't worry. I mean, not all of it, but like what's being hidden. I should say that what is being going over it will get erased. So maybe about here, the fourth step down up has the bone, and this is what I mean. So you see how I did on the last step, I raised this same distance from here to here, I put it down here. And I created this down here, and it goes up to maybe the fourth floor, the top, and the ball makes the fifth. Sorry, fourth step, and the ball makes the fifth. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You see stops here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where the ball lines up on the fifth step. Now I need to connect this, not the ball, down here to down here. And I'm gonna draw those lines from here to here in a little angle, because it has to be in an angle. You see how it's in an angle? Because the stairs were in an angle. So it's in an angle like this. So same thing here, not the ball, but the bottom down here. And now I erase anything inside these two lines because they are in front of whatever is behind. Does that make sense? You see? You see how now there's a handle for the stairs? Let's define the door a little better with more darker straight lines. You could at any point darken, look, and make your line straighter, which it will be the line that you actually wish to be highlighted. Okay. And then let's try to finish this, the basics, and then we'll build upon it. And I'll tell you what the little surprise was. It's just a simple decoration. But let's highlight where, before we do our windows, where our bushes and things like that we're gonna go. So I was gonna do, I can see already, and you could adapt this to your drawing. You see how, I don't know if you can see in the video, but there's a bunch of lines out here that I can still see. So for that reason, I want to bring up lightly like a pine tree or bush that is all the way up here from down here. Look how I just created a tree here that goes up, and when we shade it, it's going to cover my lines that I created here. Maybe a little round bush here behind, or a few bushes. Look, We're going to define this more later, right? And then on this side, I don't have much to cover over here. So basically what I don't want is for both of them be the same height. So this is very high. This one will be a little lower and maybe rounder or thicker. You see how this is thinner? And this one is going to be more round. So I want you to think of always organically in nature to do various things. Just change things around. This one is tall. Let's bring it higher maybe, but not as high as the house. And we're going to darken this later. And then this is rounder at the bottom and shorter. Here, next to this will add to the cool. It's like, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's do the windows. So the windows, let's start with making a frame, just like a picture. I'm just making these lines cleaner. And I'm gonna add something to this window up here, okay? But let's do the frame first. So the frame will be just like we did here. You see how there's a thickness? So we're gonna do that in all the windows. Because they are like that. Just look at your windows. You see how now there's a frame around it? So we're gonna do that with all 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And define your lines if you need to. Oops. Change pencils if you're losing the sharpness of it. Okay. I hope we're not getting lost or overwhelmed or frustrated. Please, it's a video. You could later pause it. Look at my drawing if you're behind and maybe you're not at the step that I am right now. But by looking at it, you could still be working on a few steps back. That's fine. And then when you get home, you find the link and continue, pause it, go back. This is not about being frustrated. I have to follow I have to follow a thread as I go to make sure that everything is included on the video, but I'm not trying to rush you at any point. I hope you have seen how this builds, and I say that because this drawing requires you that. If you haven't got to where I am right now, let's say with the windows, you will have to get there, right? So it will feel like I am rushing you or going too fast. But that's not, that's not the point here. So this window is, the edge is right at the edge here. So remember that. Okay. So look at the drawing, and if you're behind and you're in another stage, continue on that stage. Use your hour, your time to build on that. But don't feel frustrated. We're all gonna get to the final product. All right. And erase. You see what's happening here? I keep erasing until I get it right. And that's okay. There's more to do to this fence. I'll show you in a moment. We know that, right? So the thing with this fence is, let's see how we're gonna do this. Let's do them straight down, but you could do any pattern you want here, basically. So you could do lines going down. You understand what I'm saying? So let's see, thinner. So thinner. This is what I mean. I'm making them thinner because if you make them too thick, it just looks too bulky. The other ones are fine to make them thicker, but this one's in here should be thinner. And you create a pattern, you know. It could I'm making straight lines down, but you could have made a different pattern. So what I did here, I'm going to do on the other side, obviously, right? There you go. That's good enough, I think. We're going to define the trees later. I just don't want to create something that my hand, you see how my hand is already dirty, will smudge all around our drawing. So usually it's okay if you have a face cloth or some type of little towel wet, very wet to clean quickly, but make sure that if you clean yourself, this side of your hand that keeps going over the paper and smudging and making darker, you see like down here that I have to clean often. That you, if you wet your hand to clean it, you dry it. You have another piece of towel to clean. Look at this. You can, and I know you can do this in your own drawing to erase between the steps because they may have got smudged. Okay, so we frame our windows. We did a little bit of the porch, uh, porch, and actually I could do these little lines up here too. Look, a little one. Do these two up here because that's why we did this. Three. How many I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So up here, there's like a little pattern too that will continue. That's the thing with this one. I'm flipping it because I put my hand here. So to avoid this, I'm going to flip it, and I have less space here to cover with my hand. So one, doesn't matter how many I count because this will go all along, and there was nothing down at the bottom that will correlate with what's happening up here. Okay, let's do a few details before we do the windows, okay, on the house. Just like, let's say, a little mail thing here, or a little square. That will be where you put, I don't know, where you ring a bell or have a light. I'll put a little circle here. I don't know. Maybe that's where the mail goes. The door will have a square here. And look what we're going to do to the square. Check this out. The door will have a square right in the top half. But look what I'm going to do to the square. I'm going to do a bunch of lines vertically that represent as if on the other side or the front, outside too, there will be like a little curtain covering that. Sometimes people do that. So all these lines, random, you know, in an angle, straight, not. It's almost as if there's like a little curtain covering that part of the door. And then down here, 2 long rectangles, because doors are like that, lightly done. Maybe a little thicker. And the reason why I'm making this line thicker, hopefully visually I create that effect, but I don't care if I don't, but maybe it works. The reason why I'm making this line thicker is because these rectangles here create the illusion of an indentation. If you look at a door, when they have this pattern, the wood goes in or out. So maybe this is indented in, or it actually sticks out a little. So that's why the edges here that define it are a little thicker to create like a little volume. Okay. So the cool thing about the windows is that we could darken the inside of it, but before we darken the inside of it, we need to make them look like windows. So these 2 small ones, or 3, 1, 2, 3, will not have a middle line. Um, it will have a middle line going across. Yes, they will have, because that's what you lift up and down. If you take a window, you lift it up and down. So that everybody will have that. I'm sorry, all the windows. But the big ones, I don't want to make these little ones too busy. The big ones will have also a line that goes vertically, dividing the space as if there was two windows in this space. So look, so if I make a thicker line here, now I have two windows together, and in this one too, right? Does that make sense? So now you could open a window on this side or this side, and they don't have to, right? While these ones are single windows. So I erase the line that divides here. It's okay. But try to understand here what I'm saying. So now if I do a line in the middle of this, is the space of the window where you will lift off, right? Now this one is closed. But let me try this one here, this small ones. What if I do a middle? A middle lane, but then I do this here and this up here. So this is the middle. But now down here, I'm going to darken something here. And maybe bring it a little here, just a little of the darkness. And it will look like someone could lift the window, you see, up. This is just to create the black going over is to define a little more of that. So someone lift that window, you see there's two squares and they didn't line up perfectly. Okay. Yeah, so let's do the horizontal line in these other windows. So not the little one in here next to the door, but this one needs it. And this one needs it. And I'm gonna make something dark in this window. And I'm gonna make something dark in all the other windows. So here. And it's because nothing else in the house in front of us decorated will be this dark. So this helps us see the windows. So the fact that this is very dark show us that this is a window, right? There's something else on the other side. So even though I go horizontal shading here, my emphasis is vertical shading in the windows, inside the windows. So same thing with this one. Maybe there's a side that is lighter here. Let's see how that will look. I'm not a big fan, but I could change my mind. Sorry, on this side. Okay. This window too. Do you see what I'm saying? We can see the window clearer by darkening what's inside, which during the day should look dark. At night, everything is dark. If you turn on the light, then it's obviously light up. It's not dark. So if the picture was at night and I want to show that the room has a light on, then I will brighten it. But during the day, like this picture is, darkening inside the window does two things: shows the reality that that's how it should be, because outside is brighter than inside, and and it will also make us see the window better. So now we know this is actually a window by darkening the inside of it. Okay, let's see what else we can define. There's a few things we can define. We can make the door. Let's shade the door, not the curtains or the handle, but very lightly. Okay, let's start when we shade. We're gonna shade. We're starting to shade now things around the house. And when we do that, we gotta start lightly first. And then if we want to make something darker, then we'll shade it again. But make sure when you shade things in drawings, you always start lighter and build upon. So you see how our door is a little darker than the rest of the house? Okay, so I need to sharpen a few pencils because all of them, I have used them. I hope you, as you draw, you do sharpen your pencils um, because as they lose their sharpness, your lines become thicker, less defined. It's just not good habit to not sharpen your pencils as you draw, okay? So now I'm gonna have, let's see, about 4 or 5 pencils sharpened. This is done very quickly because I didn't let my pencils go too much into not being lose their sharpness. So if you keep using them, right, then if you keep using it, even though they lose their sharpness, then when it's time to sharpen them, it will take a little longer. I didn't take too long because I never let them get too dull. Okay, so follow me here. This is very important. And I want to distinguish this area of the roof from this and this. So this and this of the house will have the same pattern. I'm going to say that again. This wall where these windows are and this wall where the door and the windows are, we don't see much of it, but are the same. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do here. What I'm going to do in the roof is going to be a different pattern, but a little maybe darker by shading it. This walls here won't be shaded. It's more about the pattern. And then I'll think about what I'm going to do here, maybe darker this roof. Because what we see here in this little roof here of the porch, what we see here um, is not what we see here, but it will be what we, if we were able to see the side of this roof, these sides should be the same as this one here. Okay, but anyway, I don't want to confuse you. But before we continue, I want to do something. I forgot a little. You see how this comes out on both sides, here and here and here and here? We're going to draw a very narrow angle going from this tip to behind the house. Not straight, because if we do it straight, we won't be able to see it, right? It's this line already. So a little more in an angle, watch, like that. You see that? Like that. I did it here. I'm going to do it here. And that's a little bit of perspective that we have. So what that means is like this whole roof goes down, back, down. So that's the little perspective that this house will have. And I included here. So we're looking at the house from the front. There's no perspective needed. Actually, maybe the stairs, you see how we go up, have perspective. And then we got to do what we did here in this one also down here. So a little bit and a little bit. Please do that because that adds to the um, sense of space the house is creating and distance. I'm gonna actually darken this window too. I don't like the way it looks with, I know it's open, but I don't like it to be light up for no reason. So it's okay. Maybe this is narrower. Okay. So let's do very lightly what I've been talking about this wall, these two walls, which are the same. Okay, which is actually very light lines that keep going straight. Try to keep them straight. I say light because and since we made them lightly, please now be really careful putting your hand on your drawing, because if you smudge these lines, yes, you can erase them, but it will be sorry, you can erase them to clean them and draw them again, but you know, it will be very challenging to do that. So we're gonna avoid to put our hands on top of these lines because we will be smudging them. So there's a line that you see, there's only one line that fits going all along here. So distance wise, so I'm gonna try to run it through, and there you go. You see how that created a pattern on the house. I'm gonna try to avoid to put my hand on top of that. I have to clean this line here. I don't know what. Remember the roof of the porch can be darker and thinner, not thinner and defined. Sorry. So now let's do those lines again. This pattern, but down here, uh, lightly. Okay, don't make it too dark. Following me here. Okay. And then we have our house. You see how the house keeps building upon? Okay. I'm gonna then up here. How could I explain? We're gonna do that same pattern. Let's do what we did here, and I'll show you how we're gonna build it. It's gonna be different, but it starts with this same. So I'm lifting my hand off the pen off the paper because I don't want to smush this. So I'm gonna do these lines carefully. If you need to turn your paper to the side, feel free. But look, you see the pattern I'm doing, and I'm really being careful not to touch the paper to smudge it. Um, the long ones becomes harder because you gotta keep making them straight. You see, it's okay, and keep the same distance. So now I'm going to darken this line that defines where the roof begins. So you see how I'm going to darken it just to define it. It's okay. It's all good. Okay. So now that I did that, I'm going to make a few lines going down, or I'm going to darken actually little spots here, here, here. Like if they were bricks. So continue doing this. See that? Lightly, not too dark. I'm going to continue doing that. um, so you'll see in a moment how that will look. More little areas like this. We're going to define the bushes and trees after this, and then create the pattern of, it's not, it could be a basement, but the part that kind of represents the basement, or the area that, you know, the house gets lifted, the bottom. And then that will be it for now. Okay. I think in the next video, I'll tell you what the surprise was. I'm not going to do it now to the drawing, but hold on to the drawing. And in the next video, before we start our next project, I will pull in this drawing. And for those who have it with you so we could finish and wrap it up. It is finished. After this, today, it will be finished. It's just if you want to add other things. This video will finish this drawing for sure, but I wanted to add like a little surprise and maybe uh, tackle a little bit of so you see how this creates kind of these patterns, kind of like it's like a little bricks, but it's different from the other walls. And I could shade a little maybe on the top, maybe here, creating a shadow next to this line. I don't know. Okay. And the same thing could be happening here into this air, this roof area. It's not straight. I moved my pencil. Okay. So I'll do this little, just to differentiate. You see how now everything looks and you don't see the roof? So I need to somehow distinguish this area from the walls because this is a roof. So I'm going to make what I did on the other, but darker. I mean, it's the same little marks. Maybe I should keep it the same lighter, but it's just to visually create a distinction. So this is where, remember that lesson about mark making, where you create all these different patterns, curvy lines, maybe dots, maybe circles, maybe squares, maybe patterns of like wood, cork. So all this comes handy if you know different patterns to distinguish areas in your drawing, you know. And here we're distinguishing by creating this little darker sporadic areas that kind of recreate, it's not really bricks because it's not bricks, but it's just distinguish the pattern from the roof that I'm doing right now, as you can see, to what the walls represent, which had those same lines that this had. And then now I can shade maybe, you see, and get away with distinguishing this wall from this. Okay, so I'm gonna define the trees from left to right. I'm gonna tackle this one and then the others because my hand right moves like this. So if I were to do these ones on my right and finish them, to do the left later, I'm putting my hand on what I already did. So for this, would you just shade it lightly? And darker will be the trunk and the branches. So this is light. I'm going to make darker soon. Maybe the edges look like this. Edgy, pointy edges to create volume. Maybe something here like that. And now look how the trunk is darker, goes up, and then maybe some branches like this, look, coming out of the trunk. And that's it. That's this tree right here. The bush, shaded. Define the edges, pointy. See how I'm holding my pencil on the side and making all these pointy things. Maybe some pointy dark things in the middle. This one, same thing, shaded. The whole body is shaded. The tall one, all of them are actually. But you'll see how we'll do the trunk, branches darker, I'm going a little faster in regards to the trees because we done trees before in this technique. So the trunk darker, you see, the trunk keeps going, it branches in with those letter V's like this. Okay. Now I'm gonna make darker the edge of the tree with pointy edges that go in and out, very defined. And I'm gonna blend in that darkness. So look, you see how it looks dark, but I'm going back in with my pencil. When the darkness, basically what I'm saying is when the darkness is too dark in regards to, you see how this is. So let me give an example. The body's shaded, right? The edge is very dark, but the contrast is very pronounced. You can see how this edge or outline is darker than the inside. So now I'm going to take my pencil, go back in here, and blending this darkness to this tone of the inside of the bush or tree, sorry. So follow me. Dark, blended, sorry, dark, lighter. And now I'm going to go in here to blend in that transition. Look, the transition from darker to the inside body being lighter. So now it transitions the blending more softer. And you lose, well, you don't lose the darkness of the outline. You don't really lose it. You just made it softer. Um, and the bottom could be darker just because there's less light hitting down here. Um, you know, but um, I'm making darker what's next to the house, so the house pops out. So I'm making this darker so the house itself can actually stand out. So you see how here I'm making the tree darker so the house can pops up and maybe erase. You could erase also to create highlights. So we're gonna erase. Let's leave the erasing, oops, to the end to create those highlights and clean what we have maybe smudged with our hands. Okay, then there's a little lighter bush back here, lighter than the other one to distinguish it, or maybe a bunch of them because there's two trunks, two yeah. So here's one trunk, here's another, and more branches coming out of them. Oops. Okay, now we're gonna erase at the end. Maybe I'm gonna define the door a little more, a tiny little bit more. And I have to darken, sorry, I forgot. In the door, I have to darken those rectangles. They're part of the door. You know, I forgot they're part of the door. So I got to darken the lines they define, like right here. Yep. Maybe, yep. Anyway, so two things to finish up. The grass just means that we're just going to shade this area, not the sidewalk, not the house, just the area left in between all that. So this will be grass. You see how the lines that we erase that left the marking disappear because we're shading on top of them? That's why I said at the beginning not to worry about that. Okay, so the last thing we're gonna do, I have one more thing to do, but the last thing before that, after that, will be to erase and clean up our drawing. So we'll erase anything that should be white and anything that has been smushed by our hands. And then you could probably make some lines to define certain things, but okay. Great. So the last thing that we need to do is this corner that are holding the house could be bricks. You know the pattern for bricks. If one ends here, the other one ends, you switch them. So this is bricks. Same thing on this side. But the fencing that occurs down here, in here, sorry. Let me define this with a little edge. The fencing or pattern of what's used here, look, it's going to have these thick lines. You see how I made a line thick? Another one here, another one here. 1, 2, 3. Can you do that? You see how they made them in an angle? Going this way, not one line, two. Now I'm going to crisscross them, meaning I'm going to do the same thing going the other way. So one goes here, behind, behind, behind. Does that make sense? And the square in between gets dark. Look, has to be dark, has to be dark, has to be dark, has to be dark. You'll see it when I'm done. Look, dark, 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 dark. So this happens. I made it too big, but you get the point. Maybe I should have made them smaller. But what happens here, houses do have this, to kind of settle them down. Sorry, to in that space. Sorry, they have this pattern fencing in the area the house is lift off from the ground. Okay, so look, now it's time to clean up your drawing. So you can see how my sidewalk look down here, especially is dirty. So I erase, get a good eraser out of your pencil, or get a pencil, sorry, that has a good eraser. Clean up, especially your, if you're right-handed, especially your right side could be very smudged and dirty with graphite because you smudge with your right hand as you drew. If you're left-handed, then your side you gotta clean the most must be the left because your left hand was in that space. Okay. Careful blowing the eraser out because you could smudge your drawing again. Yeah, clean up those stairs, those steps on the stairs. We're finishing up. And yeah, if there's any line you need to define or maybe my off the stairs and the porch and define these lines a little better. You get the idea. Okay, if there's a line, if there's a line that is too light, you can make it darker. Like I can see how this frame should be more defined and maybe clean on the inside. So I'm going to erase the inside of this. If you have a thinner eraser, that will be great. An eraser that can actually get in those thin areas. You could create highlights maybe in some areas, like maybe the grass with some lines. I don't know if you want to, if you wish. And on the trees, maybe you could create some highlights by erasing some spots. I don't know. Okay, and we're done. I'm gonna sign it. There's something I may add. Okay, yeah. So the surprise was, I think we're done. Maybe we don't need another video. The surprise was, was to do a little Christmas or holidays wreath um, in the door. I don't know. Yeah, or basically the surprise was, if you wish, you could put lights, basically decorate it for the holidays. You could decorate the house for the holidays by adding little lights like this, kind of like anywhere you can. You could have created lines with lights, or a for the door with the classic bow. You know what I mean? Okay, but here's our house. It actually came to be perfectly 2 hours. I'm gonna sign it and add one last thing. Because the top left of it, you see how we're covering with the trees here with the camera, so the whole drawing is on the same shot. You see how the top left, sorry, the top right has the tree at the top here. So maybe here we could lightly create a circle. I said lightly. That represents the sun or the moon. That's it. This is our house. So I know in 2 hours, and again, I apologize if it looks I'm rushing you. I just want to make sure I cover completing the drawing, which we did. We could always go back, pause it, rewind. You see how the table, you see this much in my table? So that's my hand. You see my hand? So your hand could also be dirty like this. So when we put our hands down, we could smudge the drawing. Just be conscious and aware of that. But we finished the drawing. It will be cool. You could decorate it for the holidays, the house. You could also do the same drawing again, and instead of pencil to shade, after you have the most of the drawing drawn of the house, you could then use colored pencil and color the house. You don't have to shade it. You will create the drawing by coloring it in colored pencils. What else? Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. It's not on perspective except the stairs and the little edge of the roofs here. What creates perspective is the stairs and this corner. The rest, we're looking at it from the front. Next projects will have houses or buildings or people or streets in perspective, and I'm looking forward to teaching you that. It's very important to have that skill. Here's very bright. Here's a little darker, but the camera adapts. But I'm going to bring it closer to the camera and wrap it up. So thank you. Stay safe. Here's the drawing focus. You see the sun, the roof. Our porch. The bottom with the sidewalk. Enjoy the rest of the week. Stay safe. Thank you.